Hi there, Zamir for NerdTube. These are my thoughts and spoilers of Save Our Squad with David Beckham, currently on Disney Plus. And Disney Plus does have a couple of shows, Save Our Squad being one of them. Another one is also Welcome to Wrexham, and these are both football shows. And I have watched them both. I thoroughly enjoyed them. But I'm going to be reviewing this one because it's only 4 episodes. It's easy to digest. Lots of people love David Beckham. Lots of people love feel-good stories, and this is definitely one of those feel-good stories. We have a bunch of lads playing for a team called Westwood Lions, Westwood FC, something along those lines. They're not that great in this league that they're playing in. It's a boys' football league, of course, and they're most likely to get relegated. The last couple of games they've played in, they're getting smashed 7-0, 8-0. They're really not that great of a team. So lo and behold, the Messiah himself, David Beckham, comes along. Now this is probably the closest we'll ever get to see David Beckham as a coach or in football management, because the guy's got too much of a lavish career post-football to ever want to get himself stuck in the dugouts. But this is definitely where I think David Beckham shines as that sort of inspirational coach, so to speak. Coaching young lads who've looked up to him as they were growing up, seeing him now amongst them, and he's always been, regardless of him being such a massive celebrity, David Beckham has always come across somebody who still remembers where he comes from. All the things we've seen David Beckham do, all the hairstyles, the sarongs, the lavish parties, hobnobbing with celebrities, from famous basketball players to people like Tom Cruise and so on. He's never forgotten where he comes from, and that's really good to see when you see this particular documentary. He gets to know all the lads from the football team individually. He goes to visit their homes, gets to know their parents, even helps them cook and prepare dinner and stuff like that. All the things that you want to see from somebody who is from a working class background like David Beckham. And the inspiration he gives to these young lads to better themselves. Because, some of these boys, they choose football because the lives they live, and where they're from. It's very easy to come off the track, so to speak, and then maybe follow a life of crime, unfortunately, because some of these boys can end up doing so because the opportunities are not necessarily there for them. And so football becomes a good way to keep them on the straight and narrow. And then when you meet somebody like David Beckham, who's very successful and who inspires them, it further wants them to make sure that they don't ever fall off track and that they do, try to achieve their goals in life. And it's really fantastic to see. One of the boys he speaks to is a guy called Kuro. You can see him in the picture at the far end of my screen. He taps his head. He's giving him some sort of like fatherly advice, so to speak. But he's pretty much like a dad to a lot of these young lads. And Kuro happens to also be a poet. And it's really good to hear some of his poems during the course of this show. You can see that he's very talented when it comes to his poetry. There's more to him than meets the eye. A lot of these lads, you can see in the picture alongside me, this whole group of boys, there's so much to them. Rio's like the picture of the group of boys. He's like the one in the middle. He could easily make it as a professional footballer. He's got all the attributes to do so. There's a lad called Ethan. He's pretty much the leader of the team. A bit of a joker as well, but if he can keep that down and maybe use that same sort of energy to inspire the rest of his teammates, then he would be a great leader. And you kind of see that coming out of him during the course of the show. There's other people who are more within themselves. I think it's Glenn or Liam. I think the name of the kid is. And he always gets last to be picked, but he happens to be a very good technical footballer. But he doesn't speak much. He's very much in his shell. And then David Beckham tries to make him come out of his shell. So people who are too much out of the shell, David Beckham tries to rein them in a little bit and make them focus. People who are in their shell, David Beckham is trying to make them come out of their shell, and be a bit more vocal. It's really cool to see all these different things coming from Beckham and how he approaches these kids. And just to see these kids just wanting to be better people as well is absolutely fantastic. We follow them for all these different games they have. Some of the teams they're playing are really good, and in the past they might not have beaten them, but in this time around, not necessarily saying that they are beating them, but they're definitely giving a better performance for themselves. They are initially looking to be relegated, but then they avoid that by the end of the show, and so they kind of achieve what they were supposed to achieve, which was not getting relegated because they were new to this league. And when they were playing better teams, as I said earlier, they gave a good account for themselves. overall, all of these boys having a moment, and time individually and collectively with David Beckham, as well as the coaches as well, because the coaches were very much inspired too to be to learn off Beckham and take his advice. They're all a lot better for it. The future is very bright for these young lads, and you can see that in the show. It's very heartwarming. Like at times I got very emotional watching it. Just seeing what all of this meant to these lads is fantastic. From being down there to then going up there to be elevated, and not just the lads as well, but their parents. Their parents are so, proud of their children. Wanting to achieve this particular dream and encouraging them as well, constantly. Even when they fail, they're still encouraging their kids to do better, not coming down on their children, not hammering them. And same with the coaches as well. Like the coaches can be a bit tough, but at the same time, they're dealing with kids, and they're not getting too brutal with them. They're always trying to encourage them to do better next time. If they fail this time, we could do better next time. And that encouragement is really good to see. It's such a fantastic show to see David Beckham as well, like his influence, and he really does add his influence to everything he's doing. He takes these kids to football matches. He takes them to Wembley. He takes them to St George's Park where England train. So a lot of these players who are fans of certain footballers who play for certain teams can see their idols playing for England and taking pictures with them and so on. And maybe being like them one day. I mean, Bukayo Saka plays for my team, Arsenal, and now he's playing for England. I mean, he's still just a young lad. He's only like 20 years old. He's already an inspiration to children, and he himself was just a child just a few years ago, and now he's already an inspiration. It's amazing to see, and it's just a great feel-good show. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. I know I sport the shit out of it, but please go and watch it. If you like your football as much as I do, and I fucking love football, and if you love your feel-good stories as well, and this is definitely one of those. And obviously, if you like David Beckham, and who doesn't? All men want to be him, all women want to be with him. Then yeah, watch this show. This is gonna be right up your alley. Fantastic, nice family entertainment. I highly recommend it. I'm gonna give this whole series an 8 out of 10. I did enjoy it. It was pretty good. Unfortunately, not everything ended up being like a Hollywood ending, but definitely the feel good factor was there. So yeah, please go and watch it. You're gonna enjoy it. Anyway, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. Take care. Bye bye.